I want to talk to you about the reconciliation process. I have had many years of difficult marriage, difficult relationships, as most of you know if you've watched my YouTube channel. And if you've read my books or any of my devotionals, I'm very open about that. I have had a lot of change in my marriage. My husband has made a lot of changes in his treatment of me and his behavior, but he still had a hard time recognizing what exactly it was, which seems kind of strange to be able to change something but not clearly acknowledge what it was, but that's what I was dealing with. The changes had happened, but the ability to drop the defenses and say, yes, I was wrong, I did this, and I get it, was causing some problems in our relationship because some things were coming up and I was bringing some issues up and I was kind of getting a denial of, no, that didn't happen. That's not the way that happened. And that wasn't that bad. And you didn't struggle that much with that issue and that didn't hurt you that much. And I was very uncomfortable with that. It got to a point where I was feeling like, wow, like getting denials and I'm not being validated and I'm not being understood. And although that behavior was not still happening, it began to feel really not good. And so I really focused on it, kind of got inward, did some thinking, some processing of why this was coming up at this particular time, why it was all of a sudden bothering me. And then I became aware of the fact that even though the behavior has changed for the most part, that there was still a wall, a place of shutdown in me that was a result of the fact that it had not been adequately acknowledged. And that if something came up today or was said, that the defensiveness, which we all have, we're all defensive when any criticism or wrong is brought up, but that defensiveness immediately kicked in and my feelings were discounted. And so really getting into that, I made a decision that I need to share this in a way where I let him know I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with having this breach because this hasn't been fully reconciled. So we did some talking about the reconciliation process, some delving into that, and it took some time, but eventually he was able to do what I needed him to do. Here is the reconciliation process. And when we short circuit this and only do part, it does not fully heal. The first thing is to understand how the person has been hurt by the behavior. Why has this bothered you? How much has this bothered you? How has it impacted you? How were you affected by it? How did it hurt you? Okay, the person has to care about that, has to get an understanding, has to be able to listen. Why was that abuse so hard for you? What impact did that affair have on you? How much have you struggled and suffered over this person's financial indiscretions that have, gutted your finances and put you into debt? All of these things. How have you been affected? How have you been affected by that critical spirit that you've had for all this time in this relationship? So how have you been affected? Then you literally have to see the other person kind of grieve for how he or she has impacted you, to literally be sad over it and to feel some of the feelings that you felt and to say, I can actually feel this. And you see them. You see the grieving, you see the concern, you see that just that reflection of that person understanding how much you have been affected by that behavior. Then the next one is the person has to promise you, I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to do that again. And for many of you who are listening to me right now, you have heard that over and over. I'm not going to do that again. And then the person understands or goes and does it again. That's not putting in the last one. Promise not to do it again. And 4, the last part of the reconciliation process is to do whatever it takes to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Okay, so it might be somebody's drinking or somebody's sexual addiction or gambling. It might be go to meetings, get a sponsor, get involved in 12-step, go to counseling to make sure that the addiction is kept in check. If it's somebody with financial problems in spending, it might be I'm giving up my access to credit cards for this time being. I'm going to go to, financial planner. I'm going to go take a financial course, like there's a financial peace course churches often have, which gives you responsible living and budgeting and things. Or it could be going to a 12-step group for people who are overspenders, whatever that means. So when you have the reconciliation process, 4 parts again. 1, the person's got to understand how you've been hurt, exactly how you've been affected. 2, the person has to grieve and care and actually empathize with you for that, to really feel like, wow, I've done that to this person. That hurts that I've done that. That's part of being an uncomfortable place of looking at yourself that people don't want to do. The 3rd one is to promise not to do it again. And the 4th one is to do whatever it takes not to do it again. And so when you look at that reconciliation process, I know there's going to be a lot of you who are going to identify with that and recognize, wow, we skipped those steps. This person is saying that he or she is changing or is going to change, but none of those first steps were done. There's no understanding, there's no grieving, there's no identity, there's no awareness. It's just fine, I won't do that again. And then the person's not doing anything to try to make sure that that doesn't happen. And you're holding the bag thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just be okay? When you've got all those feelings going on inside and the healing really hasn't happened. So I hope that this reconciliation process will really help you. I hope it'll give you some understanding of yourself and what you need, understanding of maybe why there's still a break or a breach in your relationship with this person, and possibly what you need to do to see if you can get some further reconciliation. So thank you for watching this video on Change My Relationship.